everybody, and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. I'm your co-host, Julian Huguet.
And I'm the other co-host, Trace Dominguez. Hi.
We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, in every episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate, we assign each other a question to answer. Those questions could be ridiculous, they could be silly, they can be far out, they can be whatever, and then we use our science communication talents to find a real scholarly-ish answer.
Yes. Well, we do our best, okay? We're really trying over here.
That was a very affirmative answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I had to back off a little bit because I remembered who I am and what I do and how I operate. And I was like, it'll be fun. It'll be fun at least. Before we kick off our questions and get into our answers, do you have any science news that caught your eye this week that you want to talk about?
I do, actually. So I like to keep an eye on, apprised of the sciencey stuff that's going on, just for both this podcast, but also other things that I do. And Science Magazine just published that, quote, "At long last, ocean drillers exhume a bounty of rocks from Earth's mantle."
From the mantle?
That's right. So I thought that was pretty cool because we've all seen those science fiction films of like getting to the Earth's core and journeying to the center of the Earth and all of that. And the core is really far.
Yeah.
And basically impossible to get to because it's so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like me.
Yeah, come on.
That's why I'm so unavailable emotionally.
Well, you should talk to your wife about that.
It's her biggest complaint is how hot I am, not that I'm emotionally unavailable.
Do you know where the thinnest part of the crust is? Not your crust, but the Earth's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have to assume, like, the ocean floor, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that makes total sense, right? You're not going to go start drilling at the top of, like, the Rocky Mountains and be like, we're going to get to the crust from here.
That's more rock. First of all, why would you carry all this drilling equipment up the mountain and
just
then, at the very least start at sea level, but under the sea level... More smarter, right?
More smarter.
Less thick, so you can get to the gooey mantle underneath, right? Yeah.
Wait, is Earth just like...
A brownie? You're going to say a brownie.
Like
You're thinking of a brownie.
Delicious, like, truffled chocolate with, like, a praline interior.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I think...
spicy, because it's, it's hot.
I see. I went brownie because I'm thinking like the edge pieces, they get all crispy.
Crusty.
But then you want the gooey mantle underneath, and then of course in the center of the brownie is a big ball of iron.
Welcome to That's Absurd. Please eat a lot. This is.
We did have brownies before recording.
We made brownies.
Your wife was like, "Hi, Julian, you want a brownie?" And I was like, "Yes."
She loves making brownies.
It was
it's
really
like her favorite
good.
Thing. Okay, back to the science news.
Reminded me of the Earth.
In 1961, there was a mission to get crust rock. So below the Earth's crust is the mantle. The mantle just has liquefied or, molten, really, rock. I say liquefied, people are going to get mad. But it's essentially like molten rock. So they have to drill through the crust to get to the mantle, to get that mantle rock. Why would we want to do that? We want to learn about the Earth. We want to learn about how it came to be, how we got here, everything.
Did we also want to do it to beat the Reds?
Probably.
You say 1961, and I'm thinking that's the same year that Kennedy's like, we will go to the moon and do the other things. Were these the other things?
Maybe. I think you could be right.
The vagueness of that speech always bothered me. Did we have a secret race to the center of the Earth? So if we lost to the Ruskies, we could be like, oh, big deal. We got to the mantle. Let's see you do that, communism.
Totally watch that movie. I would totally watch that movie.
Back up to the space race?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh.
I'm trying to think of a clever name because Space Race is really great.
The
but
inner space race?
That seems more like a mental health challenge, which is also important. So anyway, this month, even though they started in the 60s, this month they finally were able to do it. They succeeded drilling below the seabed in the mid-Atlantic Ocean and collected a core of rock, so like a tube of rock, that's 1 kilometer long.
Wow!
It consists largely of periodotite, a kind of upper mantle rock, although it's not clear about the samples yet. It's pretty cool looking. There are pictures here on this science article. So it's there's not much to know yet. Obviously, they just got the samples, but they're going to, use these to learn more about how our planet came to be. And I thought, that's pretty freaking cool.
That is. And hot.
And hot.
Pretty cool and hot. And you know what? Take that, Soviet Union.
Yeah, we beat you to the core.
Where did the scientists who actually managed to break through? Where were they from?
Oh shoot!
Does it say?
I closed the website.
You closed it.
I closed it. Hang on. International Ocean Discovery Program. So a international group of scientists. However, Jessica Warren, a mantle geochemist at the University of Delaware, says that, quote, getting down to this really fresh stuff has been a dream for decades and decades. We're finally going to see the Wizard of Oz. That's pretty exciting. There's also a person from Cardiff University, so that's in Wales. Seems like a international group. University of California, Santa Cruz. I'm just skimming from mentions of other universities.
Okay. All right.
They said they've already started research on the rocks, and eventually they will be able to be researched by everyone, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't break through and find like a whole hollow earth with dinosaurs and stuff.
I wish they had. Think about it. Dinosaurs and stuff.
I know.
They would, of course, all be Soviet dinosaurs now.
Curse you, Lenin!
Dung! You know, because you got the hammer and hitting the... Because it's always, anytime there's a Soviet thing, they got to have that anvil sound.
I'm just imagining a chorus of velociraptors singing like the national thing. I don't know the words, but anyway.
I mean, I didn't even... Is that even the right tune? I wouldn't even know.
No, communist dinosaurs.
Communist dinosaurs. Reagan's biggest fear.
The real
What are we
threat
gonna
of
do?
Jurassic Park.
We've got to stop those damn dinosaurs. Again, I would watch this movie. It would be so good. Okay, let's get to our questions.
A serious time. Very serious in this time.
Honestly, I want to know your question answer so badly.
I'm dying
want
to
start
share
with
it.
you because I'm
First
just
of all,
really pumped.
I know. I came over and like my first urge every time I visit before we start recording is to just blurt the entire answer out to you, but I have to save it because to me it's always like the joy is in getting to share it and the discovery. But first, before we go into that, let me just say this question was actually submitted by a listener.
Ooh, our first listener question.
No, this was from Samara D. She submitted several questions and one rather lovely compliment. So thank you, Samara.
Thanks, Samara. That's
Appreciate
so nice
it.
of you.
So of her several questions, this one stuck out because I was like, yes, that's absurd question if there ever was one. It's a classic. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but here, I'll read her question verbatim from her submission. Samara writes, this question was inspired by a YouTube video I was watching, one of those silly life hack or beating the system videos that may or may not be fake. One of the entries was a man who had created a rather fast vehicle by sitting in one of those yellow janitor carts, holding an umbrella out in front of him like a sail, and blowing a leaf blower into the sail. In the footage, it appears to be quite effective, but I wasn't sure if it was really plausible. Could a vehicle with sails be powered by an anthropogenic wind source located on the vehicle, or would the equal and opposite forces of the wind cancel each other out? Sincerely, Samara D.
I read this too, and we were on the phone talking about what questions we were going to pick, and I was like, this is a Julian question. It is so classic, and I love it.
It's so Looney Tunes logic, right? Like, you've seen it in, like, Tom and Jerry or whatever, where, like, somebody gets in a boat and holds up a fan and then, like, blows the fan into the sail, and it works, right? And it's, like, total cartoon logic. So I actually found the video that Samara was referencing.
What, really?
Yes, I did. I have it right here. Now, obviously, this is an audio medium, so sharing
of course, it's in Florida.
Sharing it with you. Yeah, it's a guy in Florida. But you can see he takes his little janitor mop bucket.
Yeah.
Right?
Bright
he sits
yellow.
in it.
He's
revs up
on it.
his leaf blower.
And there he goes.
Yeah. Except it's definitely fake. All right?
Yeah, definitely. Firstly, we only see him going for like 10 or 12 seconds.
Well, more importantly, when you actually look more closely, the mop bucket is on an electric skateboard. And you can see it just underneath him. You can see the little power pack and you can see the skateboard wheels.
Yeah, I can see that. He motorized his mop bucket.
And he's just comically shaking his umbrella out in front of him as he goes along.
Look, I don't want to be a nitpicker, but you can also tell that the umbrella is not propelling him for the same reason that you can always tell when a computer-animated sailboat is on the screen.
Yeah.
Because typically, the sailboat has the flags going backwards, as if the boat is being propelled not by the wind. So if you think of a pirate flag on a pirate ship, it should be blowing in the same direction of travel. And so you don't think of it that way because we think of boats as motorized. So it's like your boat is going and the pirate flag is flying in the wind behind the boat. But even if it were hanging off the back of the boat, the wind is what is propelling the boat. So the flag would be blowing onto the boat. And so this is the same thing. If you look at the umbrella is concave.
Yeah.
Because he's pushing the air. The air is pushing the umbrella toward him as opposed to him pushing the air into the umbrella.
Yeah.
So that gave it away for me.
Right.
But I still appreciate that we're going to look into this and whether or not it could be possible if done correctly.
Okay, so my first instinct, despite this video being fake, was this can't work, right? Like, thinking of Newton's third law, which is every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? I think this is probably the least well understood among the general population of what it actually means, right? People think like, oh, this means I push on something, therefore I move in the opposite direction. What Newton's third law is actually referencing is how two objects exert forces on each other.
Yeah.
Right? If you hit a nail with the hammer exerts a force on the nail, and the nail exerts an equal and opposite force on the hammer.
Which makes sense because, like, if you have a really weak hammer and you hit a really, hard thing, the hammer could break.
Yeah.
The hammer wouldn't break unless the thing was exerting force back on it.
Exactly. Okay. So my first thought is like, okay, if you've got a fan, and a fan is blowing air towards the front of the boat, towards the bow, right? That should theoretically, if there were no sail, push the boat backwards, right? This is the
yes, got it.
Principle that, propeller airplanes, jet airplanes work on is you take a mass of air, you throw it in one direction, right? You apply a force to this mass of air, and the air applies that same force on, your propeller or your jet and pushes it forward, right?
Right. So I'm thinking of a fan boat. I mean, the fan boat blows backward, sucking air through the boat space and pushing it out the back of the boat, propelling the boat forward. Yeah,
it accelerates that air. The air has mass, so you've got a force. You push the boat forward, right? That same force is applied forward on the boat.
Like the air is a rope, and you're like pulling along.
Now, let's say you've got just a sail, right, on the boat and no fan. If wind blows into the sail, right, and the sail has resistance, and the air pushes the sail forward. But if the fan is pushing air into the sail, right, you'd think those two forces would cancel each other out.
If the fan is on the boat, then the force from the thing, like the fan, we'll say, the big fan, I'm thinking a fan boat, not a leaf blower, is like on the boat, blowing into the fan or into the sail, and the force would just be a circle. It'd just translate to itself.
It would be equal and opposite, you would think, right?
Yeah,
and the boat would go nowhere. Okay, that's what I thought too.
I mean, we talked about this briefly when we were talking about the question, and I thought, but is the energy from the wind or from like, if it's a battery-powered fan, isn't the energy from the battery involved somehow? I don't know. I was like, I could see. I think that's why people are so intrigued by this, because you can see how it might work.
Yeah. So, the battery takes chemical energy, converts it to electrical energy,
mechanical to do work,
and then the motor in the fan converts the electrical energy to kinetic, and that's translated to the air. But you'd think the forces all in all would balance each other out, right?
You'd think. I think.
That's wrong.
They don't.
They don't.
So, wait. Are you telling me I could do this?
Yes.
I could put a fan on a boat.
Yes.
And point it at the sail.
Yes.
And move the boat.
Yes.
Oh! Ah! Okay, tell me how.
Let me
I
explain.
need to know how.
Let me explain.
This seems wrong.
I know. It feels to my very core wrong.
I get.
Right?
I want to know.
Because it's so Looney Tunes.
Yes, it feels Wile E. Coyote to me.
Now, here's the thing, okay? Let's say your sail is just a big flat piece of cardboard or plastic or something, right? There's no curve to it. So, in this instance, the boat wouldn't go anywhere, right?
Oh.
Because the air hits it, and then the air gets deflected by the sails to both sides, right? And let's assume that it's equally blowing in both directions.
Yeah,
so
we're assuming a lot of perfection here, but that's fine.
So the sideways forces are in balance, so the boat goes nowhere. If your sail is concave, you will get forward motion. Because what happens is the air hits the sail, and the sail takes it and curves the path of the air, so it's actually getting pushed behind the boat.
Oh.
So you have a net movement of that air.
So the air is sort of pushing against other air.
Yeah, so the air from the fan, it's analogous to if instead of the fan blowing into a sail, you just hooked a tube up to the fan and pointed the tube backwards. It would effectively be the same thing. That mass of air is being directed backwards, propelling the boat forwards.
So it's a really inefficient fan boat.
Exactly. It would be the dumbest way of doing it. Because when that air gets channeled back past the fan, some of it gets recirculated by the fan into the sail. So your total mass of air getting tossed backwards is lower. So the boat goes slowly. And this isn't like hypothetical. I found like a retired science teacher by the name of Bruce Yeaney who actually demonstrated this. Mythbusters did this in like 2012 and the videos are up online. So you can actually see that yes, it does in fact move the boat forward. Now it would be a lot more efficient to just turn the fan around and blow directly behind you.
Backward, because then we're just doing what a jet would do or a fan boat or a propeller plane.
Yeah, we're cutting out the middleman of like having the sail redirect it and do a poor job of it. But the key takeaway though is because it's the same air that's, the fan is pushing forward but ultimately is going backwards, that does provide a net forward motion. Yeah. Now, this got me thinking, is the way I think sails work wrong?
What?
Yeah.
I don't know how sales work all of a sudden. I thought I did until now.
Yeah,
now
did.
You're making me thinking about it. Okay. I don't know. Please elaborate.
So here's the thing. Old-timey, like, square sails on pirate ships and galleons and whatnot, those work how you think they work, right?
Okay.
They're big, rectangle, wind blows into them, pushes against the sail, and that pushes the whole boat forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Got it.
Sails today don't work like that. Yeah, modern sailing boats do not operate using that principle. Because with that, you can only travel if the wind's, at your back.
Right.
Okay.
I always wondered how, I knew the term tacking.
Tacking. That's
but
a good one.
Where you go kind of like back and forth across the face of the wind. So you can, it takes you longer to get there, like a switchback up a mountain, but you're still using the wind just like on edge.
Yes.
Instead of direct. But
yeah,
I don't know how
you're on the right track.
I don't know how sailboats work, I guess.
No.
I like the cut to your jib. Or is it jibe? We needed a sail. Are you rich? I'm not rich.
No, I'm not. I
have a
can't
sail.
afford to actually sail.
Yeah,
I can only,
we need some rich people.
I can only look up how it works. I can't experience it for myself. Anyway, so here's how sails on modern sailboats work, is they actually basically operate with the same principle that an airplane wing uses. When you direct the sail, when you're a sailor on a boat, you don't have the wind blowing directly into the sail to push you along. You actually put the sail pretty much edge on into the wind. Maybe a little bit of an angle, right? And so this angle, blows the sail into a curved shape. And then the wind traveling across this curve has the same effect that air over an airplane wing has. The air going over the curved part in the front has to accelerate, which means it becomes low pressure. The air behind the sail doesn't have to accelerate, so it's high pressure. So the difference in pressure propels the boat.
Wow.
Yeah, you get a force vector. But the thing is, the vector of the force is usually it's off to one side of the boat, right? It's not directly straight ahead. It's kind of pushing to the side. And like you said, you tack a little bit. You go... there's some what's called leeway, if you know the term.
I don't.
Right? Like we use it all the time, and I need a little bit of leeway, right?
I need a little leeway.
Right.
But where does that come from?
From sailing. Because the lee is the side of the boat opposite where the wind is coming from.
Okay.
Right? So you get pushed not directly in the direction you're pointing. You've got a little bit of leeway. You go off to an angle a little bit to the side. Now, when your boat does that, underneath the boat, you've got another wing, the keel.
Oh.
Yeah. And the keel in modern boats is designed to function just like the sail, like a wing. And when it hits the water at an angle, with some angle of attack, you would say, that also creates a difference in pressure pressure under the boat.
But using drag instead, or like...
No, it's the same exact idea, because air and
it's a
water,
fluid.
they're
It's just
fluids.
a denser fluid.
Exactly, right? So the air going over one side of the keel is low pressure, the other side is high pressure, and that also pushes on the boat. And the vector of that force from the keel is pointing the other direction from the vector from the force of the wind.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the net vector in the middle is the direction that the boat travels in.
Wow.
I know. I had no clue.
I'm like rethinking every video and movie and rich person thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
About boats.
It's actually a lot more interesting than I ever thought it was.
Wow.
I know. It's
That's
so
cool.
And because of this, you can sail just about in any direction. You can't go straight into the wind. You've got to have a little bit of a leeway.
Like a little cut into it?
Yeah, a little bit, but you can still travel faster than the wind is blowing and in just about any direction.
Wow, because it's really just about like how you can get that airplane wing, if you will, to pick up the air.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
So thank you, Samara, for this wonderful question, both because all my assumptions about everything were wrong, both about how, pointing a fan at a sail couldn't possibly work, and about just how sails work in general. So I learned a ton on this one. This was so cool.
Whoa. Follow-up question. In a modern sailboat, you can't point a fan at the wing. I guess you could.
It would have to be off to the side.
But you could do it, because the fan would just turn the sail into the airplane wing shape that it needs to cut through the wind. Yeah. So it could work there too.
It might even be better than the way we assume that sails should work, with the fan directly behind them, just off to the side.
That was awesome.
So cool.
Samara D, thank you for that question.
Great.
It was amazing.
Great question.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll get to my question. Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh, God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
We think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then, and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like, I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out. Welcome back to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. We hope you're having a good time. I know we are so far. That sailboat thing still trips me up.
Oh my God. I don't even know what to think.
We've got to continue on, though, because Trace, what is your question for this episode?
My question also comes from a listener, although they didn't leave their name, which is too bad. But thank you for submitting questions to all of those who did. And there are quite a few questions that we have, so we're really excited about that. So we're picking 2 this week, in part to just encourage y'all to keep asking them. And my question is, what if all humans shared the same brain?
Ooh.
It's weird to think about.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Is what I'd say if I had your brain.
Right, that is what you would say.
There'd be no secrets.
And we have science to support that.
Say what now?
Yes.
Somebody with research dollars.
Hang on, we're going to get there.
And a good mind for this sort of thing has looked into this.
So the actual question is worded like this. What if all of humanity shared and was controlled by a single massive consciousness? And that is a very interesting question that I sort of get to. But first I wanted to say there are no species that actually share a brain. And thus, there's nothing in science, like hard science, that we can actually pull from in order to inspire this question.
Okay.
So instead of diving right into what if we all shared a massive consciousness and we were all controlled by that, I thought instead we should look at species that may share brains or have multiple brains. And there are some. But before we get into it, there are humans that share brains.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're called Craniopagus twins. It's a type of conjoined twin. It's extremely rare, even for conjoined twins, which is already rare. It's actually the rarest form of conjoined twin.
Yeah, I bet.
And if you're not aware what a conjoined twin is, it's a twin that when born, it's two humans that are joined in some way. So like the phrase joined at a hip comes from that, where it's like you might have been born with, an arm that is shared with another human body.
Right.
And if you are shared at the head, and that is the craniopagus twin. It's 1 in 2.5 million live births. They don't typically survive very long after birth because it's kind of a tough way to live. And even with a low incidence, though, there are births every year this way, and every year a separation is attempted, and some do survive. There are examples all throughout medical history of twins surviving this, mainly in modern day because of brain imaging. We can kind of separate them safely.
Okay.
However, sometimes their parents don't elect to separate, which is the case of Krista and Tatiana Hogan. They were born in British Columbia, Canada. There's actually a documentary about them called Inseparable, and they are joined at the head. But they are two separate bodies, 2 arms, 2 eyes, 2 noses, mouths, legs, 4 legs and 4 arms, really. But they are joined in a way that is so interesting and unique in all of science. It's called the thalamic bridge.
Oh, okay.
So the thalamus is a part of the brain. It's a relay station between all different parts of the brain. So they all kind of go through the thalamus. Every sense that you experience except olfaction goes through the thalamus. And it also goes through some of the motor skill sections. And so this means these twins can do a lot of stuff that this question asker wants to know, or at least wants to kind of get insight into. So for example, Krista's eyes, Tatiana can see out of them.
Whoa!
Even though she is a different human. She can see through her eyes, and the reverse is also true, but Krista can only see out of one of Tatiana's 2 eyes. And they've proven this using experimentation. Tatiana controls 3 of Krista's arms and 1 leg. Krista controls 3 legs and 1 arm. They can talk to each other without speaking by thinking. They can talk in their head, as they call it. Yeah. They can literally read each other's minds.
Oh, my goodness.
It sounds incredible and amazing. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. They have a lot of other medical issues. They have diabetes, they have epileptic seizures, they have to have daily blood tests, take a lot of medication to stay alive. They're currently still alive. They're 16 years old.
Wow.
So they're teenagers now. But most of the stuff about them happened when they were younger and they were, children. So that now I imagine they want more privacy. They're getting to be adults.
Yeah.
But they still are attached. One of the stories they had that their mom said is they'll be sitting quietly and all of a sudden one will grab a snack and give it to the other one.
Nice.
Because they were thinking about.
Hey, that's so fascinating because it speaks a lot to like the nature of thought.
Yeah.
Could my thoughts be understood by another person, right? If they could like tap into it.
Apparently.
I imagine them, growing up together probably helped that. Like, it'd be interesting if you could now tap into my thoughts.
Yeah, if all of a sudden you had a thalamic bridge.
Yeah. Like, would they be indecipherable for some reason? I don't know.
I feel like the brain is good enough at pattern recognition that even if for some reason our brains worked slightly differently, eventually we would figure it out.
Yeah, you could probably eventually kind of crack the code of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Just through experience. Be like, I'm hungry. You'd eventually figure out that that's what that means just based on the behavior that you would do next.
Yeah. Or like just thoughts of, maybe they're totally inconsequential. Like, oh, I don't like the socks that he's wearing today, or something. Eventually, like if you could figure out like, hey, you don't think those about my socks. I like these. These mean a lot to me. These were an anniversary gift.
They have videos of them saying stuff like that, where they're like, how do you like being attached to your sister? And they're like, ugh, she's annoying. And then they're like, oh, but I love her anyway. And then they like hug each other and stuff. And it was really cute. Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to hide it, right? So what would be the point? This almost relates to your like lying question from a while ago.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because like you couldn't hide things from each other at all. And I wonder, that's not really discussed in any of the things I could read about them. But I wonder if they do have like covert thoughts. Like like private thoughts that they have for themselves. Because aside from seeing out of each other's eyes, controlling the limbs that they share, they can also share senses of touch and taste. But that requires apparently work. Like they aren't just doing it all the time. So if I am one of the twins and I am eating, I don't know, cherry, the other one, I can think to them, hey, this tastes really good, you should taste it. And the other twin has to actively be like, oh,
let me come on over there.
I'm going to hop over and
mouth.
like taste it out of your mouth. Oh yeah, it does taste nice. You know, it's like they aren't actively picking that up all the time, which I think is just wild. Her mom was quoted saying that you can tickle one and the other one laughs. You can pinch one and the other one will cry. When they were 11, an article read that they play together, they annoy each other, they support each other, they like the Power Rangers. So they're just normal people who happen to also share this really interesting connection. And they also have different personalities. So they can read, they can write, they go to school, they go skiing, they can swim, they have a bike that they can ride that's like designed special for them. But they have different personalities. So Tatiana, or Tati, is outgoing and she's high-strung, and Krista is shy and relaxed and tells jokes.
Poor Krista has to get dragged along with Tatiana everywhere.
Yeah.
My wife and I are like that, where I'm the extrovert and she just really does not like social gatherings. So imagine that, but she could never elect to stay home. Like,
right.
She always...
Well, at least maybe she could think that she wants to go home and you would know it, like, inherently. You could like feel
nice.
that would be nice.
Maybe like she could just bring along a pair of like noise canceling headphones and a book or something and like not really be involved in whatever's happening.
I wonder about that. Like at some point, you know, they're going to want to do things completely separately. I wonder if maybe they have no experience of being separate. Like for them, this is the only experience they've ever had. There
was that other documentary called Stuck on You.
Yeah.
That was was about conjoined twins. And they have a reference at one point to one guy being like a star hockey player. And you know me, I love hockey. And I was like, how's that going to work? And then they show them after they get separated. And turns out the star hockey player twin was a goalie. And so he's like standing in the wrong half, like one half of the net, like off to the side. Because his other twin used to just get hit by the puck. I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
I mean, you just hire a really big goalie. Isn't that fine? I don't know what the rules are, but
there's no rule that says you can't have one gigantic goalie. Now, I don't know about if conjoined twin counts as having two players on the ice. I don't know.
Great question. Depends on that gets to kind of why I wanted to focus a bit on Krista and Tatiana Huguet, because it gets to the challenge of our sense of self, which I think this question does too. If we were all controlled by one massive consciousness, would we be individuals? Would we have a sense of self? Tati and Krista do have senses of selves, but they're not controlled by a separate consciousness. They are instead two separate beings who are connected through this bridge. So this brings me to animals with multiple brains. How do they work?
What animals have multiple brains?
Leeches.
Oh?
They have 32 brains.
Wow.
Yeah.
They should be in charge.
Leeches are interesting because they're segmented. Right. They're actually fascinating creatures. Like they have the best anticoagulant in the world that we know of. We actually cannot make an anticoagulant as good as what leeches make naturally, some species. And so they'll latch onto you and you won't know they've latched on because they release an anticoagulant to keep the blood flowing and a very mild painkiller so you don't know that they're there. And their anticoagulant, like I said, is the best. Read about leeches. They're cool. So leeches are a type of organism that have segments, and each segment has its own brain. It's not really a brain. It's bits of ganglia, like bits of brain's tissues. But the segments are connected. So it's sort of like one brain, but in 32 little segments.
It's a distributed brain.
Yeah, it's a distributed brain, which insects also have. We see that in some insects, like there's a brain in the skull and then ganglia running along the body, which is why if you like cut the head off a cockroach, it can still run around for like days. Like they think they can actually get them to live like weeks just with no head because they have enough ganglia to kind of do some stuff. Mosquitoes are the same, where they have a brain in the skull and ganglia throughout the abdomen and stuff. And it gives them great reaction time, which is important if you're an insect. You don't want the animal that you're trying to prey on, if you're, say, a mosquito, to get you. So you have to be able to get out of the way. There are other animals with multiple brains. For example, cuttlefish. They have 3 brains, and they do different things. So one might be for eating, one might be for camouflaging, and one might be for movement. They coordinate, but they aren't like run by a central brain. For that, you'd need an octopus. Right. They have 9 brains.
One in each arm, right?
One in each arm and one in the central kind of part of their body.
The cephala part, the foot head part.
The cephala. I think that's the official name.
Well, they're cephalopods, right? That means foot head.
Foot head.
Yeah.
So they have like this federal government in their head and then a bunch of local governments in their arms.
I see.
And they divide the control. That's how I like to think about it. And they actually tested the arms to see if they could navigate a maze on their, not like cut one off and see if it could go, but to have kind of this local control versus central control. And it turned out the central brain knew what the arms were doing, but sometimes the arms just did their own thing. So I wonder, when you see like video of an octopus and they're just kind of like, their arms are kind of like swirling around. Yeah. Like sort of in this beautiful motion, but they don't seem to be really coordinated. That might be that the local arm is in control. And then when they all move together, like they're swimming, that might be central brain control.
It's like the Dr. Strangelove hand where it does whatever it wants and you're not really in charge.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
an
like
old-timey reference. Your dad will get that reference, listener.
Yeah, everyone's dad. The cephalopod, I think, was the closest I could find, where it's like a central consciousness that controls all of these other things. But it did seem within the octopus research that what they found is that central brain does most of the work when they're coordinating, but the arms can kind of do their own thing when they're separated. Even if they're cut off from the octopus, they still try and find food, but they try and put it back into the mouth of the octopus that it's no longer attached to. So it doesn't really work.
They're so dedicated.
There are also animals, by the way, with no brains. Just fun sidebar. Like
I know, I've met
sponges.
Some riding my motorcycle over here. I think I saw a few.
Okay.
LA traffic joke.
But like sponges, they actually have no brain. They have some brain tissue, but they have genes that code for brain tissue, but they don't actually have any.
Wow. So even though Patrick Star is the dumb one, SpongeBob doesn't have a brain.
Yeah,
wow.
That's right. He's brainless. He's just acting on instinct.
That's why he's so happy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Ignorance is bliss.
It all makes sense now.
So if we were controlled by one massive consciousness, what can we learn from all of these kind of scientific animals? We've got an octopus, totally works. All of the things feed the central purpose. The Tatiana and Krista Hogan, they're 2 separate thoughts and they aren't really controlled by a central consciousness. But I think what we can learn from them and what I think answers this question is they are very empathetic to each other. They know what each other are feeling and thinking. So maybe if we had one massive consciousness and we also somehow had some independence, like an octopus arm, we would be doing our own things until the central consciousness need us to do something. But in doing so, we would also, feel more empathetic toward each other. And we would maybe, have more understanding, have more sharing, maybe less fear.
Who's in charge of the central consciousness?
Great question. Don't know.
Is it like a democratic...
It's you, Julian. You are the central consciousness.
I knew it. I knew I was destined for big things. I would just use it to feed myself snacks.
Well, I mean, you'd have billions of snacks. Constant possible snacks from all over the world.
I'd probably have to fine-tune it so like somebody like on the other side of the planet doesn't just suddenly sit bolt upright and go like, I gotta get him some Doritos and like come running.
I thought about that too. If we were all connected in the way that like Tatiana and Krista are connected, you could just like think hard and be in Paris. But you'd be like seeing through someone else's eyes or like eating at any restaurant in the world at any time that they're open. You could just think about it and you'd be tasting the food in whatever person happens to. I think
you just quantum leap into there.
Yeah, I think the thing about this is what would happen is it would make us realize that we are not individuals at all. That at any given time, and I've thought about this my whole life, at any given moment, someone is doing probably the exact thing that you are doing, almost to the detail. Someone is playing the same video game, maybe not at the exact same point, but like close to it. Someone's, pooping, same time you are. Someone is coughing, sneezing, sleeping, eating the same thing you're eating, like, because there are billions of us. So if we were all connected, basically anything you want to do at any time, you could probably do.
Yeah,
It'd
the
be very
implications
unlikely.
are wonderful and horrifying.
Yeah, it really is. So on some level, it would be awful. And yet, we're sort of trying to do that.
It would make solving murders so easy.
Oh, would it?
Yeah, right?
I guess you could just
think about
be like, who did this?
Plug into the consciousness and see who's got a memory of committing murder.
Yeah. I guess it would still be like a brain, though, at the end of the day. So you'd have to like think about, where was I on Thursday? And you'd get 9 billion Thursdays.
Yeah, you'd have to refine the search.
Yeah, and I don't know how we would do that without technological help, which brings me to the next bit of my question.
Oh, I was going to ask if there's some technological way of doing this.
Yeah, and so right now we don't have any technological way of reading thoughts. Like there are AI programs that claim to, and there are things that we think that we can do. And there are people working on BCIs, brain-computer interfaces, that can connect two people together. They have done experiments where somebody moves someone else's arm or like a rat tail using a brain-computer interface.
Yeah.
So all of that is totally doable. However, BCIs are risky, can cause infections, get removed immediately upon the sign of any infection whatsoever. You can't just like implant it and wirelessly connect to each other yet. So the question is, in 100 years, could we? In 1,000 years, will we?
Who would sign up for it, though?
Yeah, like, what do you get from it other than you can experience all these things? But at the same time, if you ask somebody in 1900 who would sign up for Instagram, like, to see photos of other people, and it's not even that now, who would sign up to see short video clips of other people doing things? They might not be interested.
It does sound, when you put it that way, it does sound a half step away from just plugging into like, I wonder what this Michelin restaurant in Paris is like. And then just like
and
tapping
if you're
into
in
somebody eating there.
InstaThought, you can just like, I'm going to log into InstaThought and see what's going on in Morocco today.
OUGHT, not THOT, right?
I mean, there would be a version. It's like Rule 34. There would definitely be InstaThought.
That already exists. Yeah. We've got
but you could just feel it. Like, that's something else I did actually think about, adult style, but like, if you wanted to get laid and you had a brain connection to everyone, someone's banging right now.
Yeah.
And whatever way you want to be banging.
Not gonna lie.
And to be honest, if it were a social network, there'd be people who would be doing it constantly because they'd be being paid to do it. Be like, oh, we always have to have somebody somewhere doing this.
Yeah, we're instantly going dystopian, aren't we?
Well, it gets a little weird.
Oh, man.
But I do want to end on a positive note.
Sure.
So imagine, though, like, it might be scary, but imagine if you could share more than just experiences, which is sort of how we're used to seeing it. Like, we're thinking of it as the apps we have. Mm-hmm. But if we think of it like the Hogans, they can feel each other's feelings.
Yeah.
They don't just like taste and see and move. Like they can feel each other's feelings on a level that we can't. So imagine if you could share the feeling of your sports team winning whenever you wanted.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that. You just tap into somebody who's like, my sports team just won this, or I just graduated from this thing that I'd worked at forever. I bet you the things that we would value would be much more like feeling-y and emotion-y than they are like, oh, I recorded, myself in a janitorial bucket flying down the road. It would be like, I just spent 50 years doing this thing and succeeded today. And if you could save that emotional feeling, holy crap, would people want that? The payoff would be huge.
Listen, as a Sharks fan, I would give anything to feel the feeling of my team winning something, okay?
I get it. I grew up in Michigan, okay?
Much.
Sports references aside, we were Lions people.
I don't care if you can read my thoughts and see me naked when I'm in my private spaces. I so badly need that team to win a championship.
I would pay anything.
I want to know how it feels.
And on that happy note,
I
think that answers the question. What if all humans shared the same brain? We would feel more empathetic. We might be more connected. If it were internet-y or like technological, it might change everything in terms of how we interact and what's valuable. Could be really cool. Could be really awful. Like kind of anything.
Would be both. Yeah. There's
both.
Potential for both. Wait a minute! I had a thought! If you did want to hide your thoughts from somebody, what if you thought in a different language they didn't speak?
Wouldn't they just be able to speak it too.
Probably. Dang it!
Because they just tap into that. It would just be like all of the brains everywhere are just software. It'd be like the Matrix, sort of. Like
And you
just
know Kung Fu?
yeah, because somebody else knows it, so you just tap into it.
I
Right?
like this. I'm all for it. I've radically changed my opinion now.
Well, I'm glad because
I was on the fence. No more. I want to know Kung Fu.
I'm glad because in that brownie earlier was a chip.
It was a pill. Oh no! And now I kick you across the room. Once we cut audio, we'll have a Kung Fu fight in the studio.
Wait, where's the Bonanza theme again? And then we're fighting. Thank you guys for listening to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. I hope you enjoyed it. This week's episode, we want to thank specifically our 2 question askers, one from Anonymous.
Yes, and the other from Samara D.
Thank you so much for submitting those questions. If y'all want to submit questions, you can do it looking in the show notes. There's a form, or you can go to our website, that'sabsurdshow.com. You can also listen to the show there if you like. Every episode is there, as well as art that we make for every individual episode of our show that we create just for you, just to give you a reason to go to our website.
Just something visual for our podcast medium.
We came from YouTube, okay? We have no idea how to do audio.
I have no clue what's going on.
I'd like to thank all of you for listening. I'd also like to thank you, Julian, for being here and being our co-host.
Oh, thanks, Grace.
And also our editor, Kyle Sisk.
Play the Bonanza theme. We don't have the rights to that, don't we?
Don't.
Marimba music away.
Marimba music away.
Marimba me out.
Thanks again for listening. We will see you in 2 weeks for our next episode.